watch this?
How?
Ew,
How do you watch this? Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hi, you're listening to How Do You Watch This, a movie review podcast where each week we recommend a movie in the genre we love, but they don't. My name is Demi, and I love horror.
My name is Megan, and I love romance.
And this week, I had Megan watch Misery, yet another Stephen King novel adaptation.
Yep.
We love Stephen King here, so
We is an interesting choice of words. So
we horror fans love Stephen.
There we go.
He's specific.
Yeah. I was like, I'm hit and miss with them, apparently. We'll get into it. Freaking Misery had me in misery. That was something else.
Misery, I remember the first time watching it and I just felt like so anxious that whole movie.
You are so lucky that I've been in a good mental health space lately, because I was like, first of all, it took me so long to finish that movie last night because I got a phone call in the middle of it. So I didn't finish until after 10, which is past my bedtime. And then I immediately go to bed. And so I had just had dreams fueled by Stephen King, which is great. But luckily it didn't ruin my life like some movies in the past have. So
that's good. Yeah, when I was rewatching, I was like, man, I hope Megan's okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much, Demi. It's a little late to be thinking about that.
I know, it's my B. I was like, like Misery, it's not that awful, and then I was like, well, the concept is a little scary, so
yeah. The concept is actually one of my scariest concept is the idea of being stalked. So thank you.
Oopsie.
Plus someone being injured and like really, really badly hurt. Just another major fear of mine.
He wasn't sick, so
yeah, that's true. At least he wasn't dying.
At least he didn't have a disease.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's get into it. So Misery is a 1990 movie rated R, 1 hour and 47 minutes, so it's a decent length.
Mm-hmm.
Psychological horror. Director Rob Reiner, which I was like, oh, that name's super familiar. And then I looked and I was like, oh, wow, he has quite the array.
He does. So he did Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm.
He did Stand By Me.
Mm-hmm.
He did When Harry Met Sally.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
My bad.
God, dude.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
He did like a bunch of other shit, and I'm like, geez, he's just doing whatever. He's like doesn't give a fuck.
It's all over the freaking place. That was shocking. So yeah. I mean, and I will say, I think he's pretty consistently good. So his name came up, and I was like, it's such a familiar name. Is he someone who was canceled? And I was really worried you were going to come on here and be like, he's a bad guy. So
guess what?
It's just because he's done a lot of movies. So
yeah, so Stephen King, after The Shining, he was like, I don't trust people. Like, he wasn't sure about giving.
Oh, right. I
rights
forgot that
to
he hated the way Shining went.
But he did really enjoy the way Stand By Me was done, which is based on his short story called The Body. So he allowed.
So I'm thinking of a different Stand By Me, because I'm thinking of like a romance movie. Is it?
No.
Nope. Cool.
Stand By Me is with the little boys. They're like a group of friends, and it's kind of like a coming of age type of story-ish. It's a really good movie.
Okay.
I don't consider it horror. That's why I was surprised to see
Okay.
Stephen King, but it's just based on his short story where pretty much the boys are doing their thing. They find a dead body, and it's just...
Oh, well, that's... Okay.
Yeah, so that's the horror bit of it, but it's like not the full concept of the story. I don't know. It's just, young boys and friendship and stuff and bonds amongst young men. So it is a good movie. But
all right.
So Stephen King trusted the director with Misery. So
yeah, was he happy with it?
He was very happy with it.
Okay, that's good.
So we can talk more about that later.
Yeah. The movie starts like any other. A man striking a match with his thumbnail. I thought that was pretty badass. I was like, wow, look at you go.
Pretty hardcore.
Yeah, it doesn't come into play at all for the rest of the movie. So whatever. But yeah, he has just finished his most recent novel and is celebrating with a cigarette and some champagne. He decides to drive down a mountain that looked precarious as hell on a sunny day. Like you couldn't see the asphalt at all. There was no way I was driving down that.
It's definitely a Colorado type of road.
Yes. Then it starts to snow and his car ends up flipping in this really dramatic way.
Mm-hmm.
So the main character, his name is Paul Sheldon. He's a famous actor and he gets pulled. Sorry, he's a famous author. So he's pulled from the wreck and wakes up in an unfamiliar room. Standing over him is Annie Wilkes, his self-proclaimed #1 fan. She's played by Kathy Bates, what else is she in?
So she's in American Horror Story.
Okay, don't watch that.
She was in The Office for a hot minute.
Oh, that's probably where I recognize her. Okay.
Anyway, but this was her like kind of breakthrough.
Really? She did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I will say. So she's Annie Wilkes, a nurse who is helping Paul Sheldon heal while the road's clear. Unfortunately, phone lines are down, so there's no way for her to contact next of kin or a hospital. Just like all nurses, she uses her bare hands to administer the IV. My red flags were waving hardcore. Like, girl, I don't care if you're his #1 fan. You don't know what bloodborne diseases he has.
Yeah.
Is it? Well, I mean, I don't think in the 90s that I feel like they used gloves back then, but
they used gloves, but you know, she's well, as we learn, she's a little not all there. So
yeah. So, and his legs look atrocious. They do not look good. They are purple. They are swollen. I was like, for sure he has an infection.
Mm-hmm. His feet were just like enlarged by 5. Oh my God.
It was rough.
Nasty.
Meanwhile, Sheldon's agent calls the local sheriff because it's unusual for him to be MIA for so long after finishing a novel. And the sheriff goes out to the lodge where Sheldon was staying to investigate the scene. Annie, while shaving him with a straight razor, which is always such a horrifying thing to watch on camera. I don't care if it's... I have a vivid memory of watching it in 007, one of his girls doing it for him. Like, no, I'm sorry. Stop straight razoring other people's necks. It is terrifying.
I hate seeing that. I just it's too delicate. I'm like, oh no.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Like, let him grow a beard, whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
So Annie ends up saying that, as his #1 fan, in a way, she was following him, like literally following him, and she would drive her car and sit outside the lodge and look up at his room where the light was on and just imagine the amazing things he's writing about. And for him, he didn't find that absolutely horrifying initially.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if part of it is like, well, she's healing me, so I'm in her debt. But also, I'd have been like, But also, if she wasn't following him, he probably would have died. So
that's true. And he is being really sweet to her. Like, she wants to read his book. She knows it's in his little briefcase. Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I only let, 3 people read it, my agent, my whatever, and people who saved my life. Yeah. And so, he lets her read it. And it's cute. Like, it's a sweet moment. But also, she's stalking you. So,
yeah, it's definitely concerning. I definitely would have played nice, but my head, the sirens, oh my God, I would have been like, I need to get the fuck out of here already.
It would not have been good. It would not have been good. So Annie is talking to him and shares that she doesn't like the swearing in the book, and then she gets worked up, and this is the first time we see her lose her cool. And then she spills soup on the bed and yells at him, "See what you made me do." And then she apologizes and says, I love you, Paul, your mind or whatever. And this is when he starts to be a little freaked out. Like, you can see in his face, he's a little bit concerned, which is like, you should have probably been concerned 20 minutes ago in the movie, but okay.
Yeah. I guess he's like, well, I'm an author. People, have fans or whatever. And it's like,
no, absolutely.
I'm not driving out to stalk.
Please also don't tell me you love me. Like, if you don't, you don't know me, you don't love me.
No.
But I was just so impressed with the acting. At this point, I literally made a note at this point in the script where I was like, the acting is so good.
It is, yeah.
So, and I feel like so often we get, very gimmicky acting with thrillers and stuff, but you don't have this at all. They really play it so well. So there's like a lot of this, I feel like they're just kind of character building with the sheriff, where there's this dynamic between him and his wife, and she's trying to like touch him inappropriately in the cop car, and he's like, just worried about work and whatever.
Yeah, he's like, here, you're my deputy, not my wife. But like they have this like fun like relationship. I love their relationship.
Yeah, it's like really cute. It's like funny banter, but it's not like. It's the kind of thing where if it was acted differently, it could have been like aggressive. They don't like each other and whatever. But it's played in this way where if she's a little sassy with him, he's like, that's the spice for our marriage.
Yeah. You can tell they like really love each other. They've been married for a million years. So they're just like, it's just sass constantly.
Yeah. It's where I see myself when I'm at that age.
Like at one point, she's like, I don't know where he is. He's probably having an affair. And he's like, I'm honestly impressed that you think I have that much energy.
Yeah, it's so great. So he ends up noticing this broken limb off the side of the road, and he almost finds the car, which is one of those moments in movies where you're like, oh, God, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, but just a little bit further. Yeah, it was very like the snow was still so high, and he was like already waist deep, and
it would have been dangerous to keep going forward. So at this point, we end up seeing Annie drive by him past the sheriff, so we know that the roads are open. So she goes into town and comes back, shows Paul that she bought his book, and he's like, oh, so the roads are open. And she's like, oh, well, just a town.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, well, like, were the phone lines open? And she was like, I mean, yeah, in town. And I called the hospital, and they said, like, you're good here. Or they want to wait till the roads to the hospital are open. And it's like, at this point, thinking, well, I guess that could still be a possibility, but highly unlikely. Like, nobody at this point is really kind of falling for what she's saying, except for Paul.
Right.
But he said his daughter's birthday is that day, and he's kind of lamenting he can't at least talk to her. And Annie doesn't care. She's like, whatever.
She's like, I bought Misery's Child. I'm so excited to read your new Misery book.
Right.
She's just ignoring.
Yeah. That's all she's talking over him, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Then, and like time, we don't really know how long time is passing throughout the process of this. We're assuming it's been quite some time that they're spending together because he's healing, all this stuff. So one day, a pig enters the room and jumps on the bed, and the pig's name is Misery, and Annie snorts at the pig, and I was like, for a second, I was like, oh, that's the common thread, because I'm thinking that in Gretel and Hansel, they're snorting. What's with snorting in horror movies?
I was just thinking that. I was like, well, I just gave her 2 movies where pig snorting was like a thing.
Part of it. What the hell, Demi?
My bad.
Yeah. So we learned that her husband left her at one point. She dove into work, and that's when she discovered Misery and fell in love with it. And she's just kind of all over the place. She's shaking his pee in its little jug around, and like, okay, be careful. So then she's like, she keeps telling him how close she is to finishing the book, and then he wakes up in the middle of the night one night, and she's standing over him yelling, "You dirty bird, how could you?" And she shakes the bed, which obviously causes him pain, and starts breaking shit against the walls. And she tells him that she never called anybody, and no one knows he's there. She said, "If I die, you die," which is so cool to hear, I'm sure.
Yeah, and she's upset because Misery dies at the end of the book, and that's her favorite character ever.
Yeah.
So that's why she's upset.
Yeah, it's like literally her entire identity is based around this character.
Yeah, but he's like over writing those books. I don't know how many freaking Misery books he's written, but he's like, I need to write something new, so that's why he does that.
Yes. Yeah, I kind of like, I don't really... know off the top of my head an author who would be similar. I guess you could say like James Patterson with like his sort of thriller novels. I don't know what James Patterson writes. He could write like historic fiction for all I know.
No, he writes thriller, yeah.
Or Nora Roberts with like romance. I think that like some people get caught into a niche, like an area.
Yeah.
And he wants to escape that genre and try something new. His newer work, the reason why she was complaining about it like having curse words is, it's grittier. It's about slum kids.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, he's like, that's the kind of kid I was. That's how people talk. And
I have no idea what like genre misery, like those misery books
romance.
Are. It looks a little romancy and like drama, I guess, just like from the artwork. And it's all about this one character. So I'm sure after a while you're like, well, I'm exhausted. I don't want to write about this fucking character.
Right. And she like dies in childbirth and all that stuff, and like literally gets buried. So it's like done and over. So misery. Annie leaves the house, and Paul tries to get up and ends up landing on his legs, which seems very, very painful.
So painful.
Yeah. He crawls across the floor, but the door's locked. He can't get out. She gets back and thinks that he fell out of bed, helps him back into the bed. And she makes these comments about, being on a witness stand in Denver or whatever. So we know that she has a little bit of a sordid past, and we're getting little hints of it here and there.
Mm-hmm.
She said that she had a conversation with God, and he told her that she needs to show Paul Sheldon the way. So he needs to burn his new book. And she takes it and puts it in a little campfire. What are they called?
Grill.
Like a little portable grill.
Yeah.
Pours some lighter fluid on it and hands him the matches. And he's like, it's not worth burning because everyone already has my book everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, 11 years ago in an interview, you said that you never make copies. Like, God, the worst person for him to ever be caught with is this woman.
She knows everything about his life.
Everything.
It's crazy.
God. So she calls his bluff and she starts pouring the lighter fluid on him, which is very threatening because obviously she's about to kill him. And at first I was like, is she really going to kill him? But by the end of the movie, I'm like, yeah, I think she would have actually lit him on fire. I think she would have.
I could have seen it.
So he is backed into a corner. He has no choice. He has to light his book on fire, which is really sad. Yeah. And I feel really bad for him. Like, I was thinking about my own self after you finish an artwork and you're like so impressed by it to then destroy it.
I know, especially with writing, like typewriter, like typing all this.
It's a lot.
Pages and pages, and it's just gone. And I can't even imagine. I would not want to write again.
No, it would really not.
Yeah.
So she keeps using the term oogie. Does that have any importance, or is that just like a weird Western thing?
I've never heard that before. I think it must be some maybe Midwest type of lingo.
Because there's that pizza place, Uncle Oogie's.
Oh, that's right.
So I was like,
Oogie. Okay, so Uncle Oogie's comes from, I think his niece or nephew couldn't pronounce his name, and she would call him Oogie. And so that's where Uncle Oogie came from.
Okay, well then they have an excuse.
Yeah, I think like when she says Oogie, I guess it's like icky, like another way to say icky.
I think so. So throughout this whole process, she's been feeding him pills called Novril, which are pain pills. And he kind of stops taking them at this point. He's like hiding them in the mattress and getting more and more secretive about where he's putting them. At one point, I thought she said, "Here's your novel," but it's Novril. So I don't know if that was a little play on words.
I think is a fictional. I saw something where it's supposed to kind of be like opium, unless it's called something else in the book.
Oh, you're right. It is fictional. I just missed the fictional part. There's little things that she's doing where she's kind of trying to make him happy. Like she's got him a wheelchair, she got him an electric razor, all this stuff, but it's none of it's gonna make up for the fact that you're being real pretty. I don't use that term lightly, but she is
Yeah, she's like the OG, like Delulu girl.
Yeah.
She's like, this is it. I'm gonna make this happen and make it for us.
He will love
perfect.
me. Yes. So she wants him to write more misery, and this poor guy, he's like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Like, I killed her off. She's in the ground, and she's like, well, I expect nothing less than your masterpiece. Okay.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah. So he sees a bobby pin on the floor and ends up basically convincing her that she needs to go get new paper so that she can leave and he can pick the lock and get to a phone. She gets really mad that he's not happy that she bought the most expensive paper that there was. And they're using all this terminology about paper and whatever. So obviously he knows what he's talking about with it, and she doesn't.
It just comes down to it smudges.
Yeah, it's
when
smudges.
he types.
So he gets the bobby pin off the floor, uses it to pick a lock, and is really proud of himself for doing it. I don't think he's ever done that before. And I don't think I would have been able to figure out how to do it.
No, there's no way. It was like an older door, so I don't know, maybe it's easier, but
yeah.
No,
so
it's gonna be me.
He's just floating around. I looked at the door and I was like, I would have put that chain on the door. It's not gonna keep her out, but maybe it would slow her down.
Yeah, I don't think I could have done what he did. I would.
No. It was way too stressful. Way too stressful. So he sees a phone. Turns out it's fake. And he almost knocks over a penguin and puts it back, but he puts it back wrong. I noticed this right away. And I was like, God, this lady knows way too much. She's going to freaking notice. I know she's going to notice.
I was wondering if you were going to pick up on the penguin.
Yes. Oh, God. So he eyes this book called Memory Lane, but he moves forward, ends up stealing more pain meds from the cabinet, and he can't get into the kitchen. His wheelchair, sorry. So he can't get into the kitchen because his wheelchair is too wide. Obviously not a very handicap friendly house.
Yeah.
So
how dare she?
Yeah, really rude. So essentially he gets out, he forces himself onto the floor, which he is still in severe pain, and he crawls across the floor to the locked door where he finds out that he is not going to escape this way. I don't know. I don't feel like he was thinking things through all the way, because I get it. You want to escape. But what are you going to do when you get outside to the snowy grass where the closest place, like, are you going to roll down the mountain?
Yeah. No plan. I would have just played nice for a while, honestly. I don't know how long I would have been stuck in that fucking house with her. But I would have taken my fucking time thinking of a game plan, at least till my legs were healed, where I could be like, get up and do something.
Yes. Yeah.
Drive
so
a car.
There was some sort of ability for me to, move forward. He gets back to his room just before she enters. She almost catches him. Like, it is horrifying.
It's so close. And he's lucky she dropped the paper, so she's picking up the paper, and he had to pick the lock again to make sure it was locked.
To lock it, which I would have just pretend like she forgot to lock it.
Yeah,
whatever.
But knowing her, she probably would have been like,
she would have been like, I know.
Yeah, I know everything.
Right. So she ends up helping him back into bed and saying that he must be mad at her. She realizes that her temper is what stops her from being, more popular of a person. And she's like, I have faith in you, my darling. And he is like nauseated by this. Like, get the hell out of this room. You're like ridiculous. The police are online. Like, the police are doing newscasting, basically saying that they think he's dead. They're like, if this man, we found his car, he's not in it. If he is out there, he's probably dead in the forest or animals ate him, which feels like an aggressive thing to say in a newscast.
Right.
Like,
remember this famous author?
Yeah.
He probably got mauled to death by some animals. We don't know.
Like, imagine being a family member watching that and being like, you think what? God. And then the sheriff, of course, local sheriff is like, I don't think he's dead. Yeah. And so I do like the thought process that Paul has here. He's pouring all of the meds, all of the pain meds into a little pouch that he made out of paper. essentially trying to stockpile them.
Yeah.
And then he goes onto the typewriter and just writes fuck, 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 fuck a bunch of times. And fair, I would feel the same way.
Yep.
He starts writing and she's critiquing it. She's like, this isn't good enough. It's not good enough. And you need to try harder. And eventually he starts creating work that she likes. She's like, yes, this is good. I love this. She's playing Liberace. And he is playing his cards right. He's like, you know what? Let's celebrate. Let's have dinner together tonight. So that night at dinner, he pours her some wine, sneaks the drugs into it. And this lady knocks the glass over and you can see him die a little inside. Again, the acting phenomenal. Chef's kiss. It was the way his face held the expression of pure and utter despair in that moment. I couldn't even.
When that scene happens, it's just like,
yes,
so close.
So close. He was so close. And so he is writing away. We don't know how much time is passing, but he's writing, and he's exercising with the typewriter. He's using this massive typewriter to lift up and down, get his muscles nice and strong, heal that arm up, I guess. There's a rainy day when Annie's super depressed and she ends up pulling out a gun and showing it. And then, saying she loves Paul, but knows that it's unrequited.
Yeah.
God,
she's going through it.
She's going through it, and she drives off, and he decides to go investigating again, and he finds the memory lane book. And what do you see? There's a whole bunch of deaths, so many deaths that are like she has scrapbooked into this scrapbook of her life. There's like, it's crazy. It's like her parents. It's like these babies at the hospital she worked at. It's the court trial from the hospital she worked at. She was obviously an angel of death, like killing all these babies in a hospital. So
and there was like somewhere certain nurses and people were murdered, and then next to it was like, oh, she got promoted and she got into this rank. So it's like she's doing a lot. Yep,
doing a lot. So he ends up stealing a knife and is practicing brandishing it. God, dude. I can't with you. So he wakes up and she's standing over him and she injects him with some sort of fluid and ties him down. And she tells him, yeah, I know that you got out somehow. My ceramic penguin was facing the wrong way. Yeah. And I found your fucking knife. And she holds it. She didn't use a bad word because why would she? She's a good girl.
She's a good girl.
And then she tells the story of what she wants to do, which is basically she wants to hobble him. And I will read for you direct quote of what I wrote. Oh my fucking God, Demi. I almost gave this 5 stars. Almost. Up until this point in time, I was like, I can't believe I'm going to give Demi another 5-star movie. This is crazy. And then I watched, I can't believe they showed it, his foot snap.
It's Demi. So bad. It's so bad.
I didn't think it was going to actually happen. Especially when I saw the cross scene of him across already. I was like, oh, that scene already happened. Like, it's not going to happen. But they did?
Yeah. And this scene in the book is different. In the book, she actually takes an axe, cuts off his foot, and then burns the stub. So the director was like, I don't want it to be as gruesome. Okay, it's less blood, but that for the movie,
you kidding me?
It's as gruesome. Like that is so brutal.
Horrible.
It is. I think I've only actually watched that scene once. And
because you look away the rest?
Yeah. It's so feet stuff, like damage to feet freaks me out. I don't know what it is with feet, but it's just such a nauseating freaking scene.
Atrocious.
It was only one. They didn't show the other one. We only need to see the other one.
I think I looked down at my notes at that point. I was like, I can't.
Yeah, I'm not watching the second one.
No.
Yeah, they
I hated that.
I have notes here on how they did that.
Yeah, go for it.
So his legs, the actor's name, who's James Caan. So he had fake legs molded out of gelatin Armatures with wire were inserted into the prosthetic ankles so that after she hits him with the sledgehammer, they would turn. And there were holes in the mattress so that his real legs were like inside at his knee. So it was just like completely, obviously a fake leg. But it looked genuine. Dude. Like, that is such a brutal scene.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I
hardcore.
Hate that
hardcore
so
scene.
It was horrible.
And his legs were looking good. Like, by that point, like, he was looking good, and then shit hit the fan, so.
Yeah. He should have played it cool for a little bit longer.
Yes. Yep.
So the sheriff sees Annie, and he sees her get mad, and suddenly something clicks for him, and he realizes that she quoted Misery when she was in her court trial.
Mm-hmm.
So he decides he's going to go check in on her and see what's going on. He's suspicious. Like, you know, he's observant. He knows what's up. He's gonna check it down.
And it's like, it's from the start you think he's just kind of like a dopey,
goofy guy. Like, he doesn't really
sheriff. Right.
Yeah, but he does, you know? Mm-hmm. He's like the epitome of, if you know, you know, like, he knows.
Yeah.
So she being Annie drugs Paul, puts him in the basement, and the sheriff is asking about Paul Sheldon. She invites him in. She's going over the top, like, trying so hard. She's like, let me make you hot cocoa, which I was like, she's probably gonna poison it, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? No, she won't, because his car is in her driveway. Like, why would she do that? The sheriff goes into her room, and then he leaves. But as he's leaving, he hears this like clattering noise. So he runs inside, and he hears Paul yelling. And he opens the door, and he's looking down at Paul, and Paul's at the bottom of the basement, and they make eye contact, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then the next, oh, Demi. And then no. Are you kidding me? Oh, I just watched as his chest bursts open from a gunshot wound.
Oh, I get so mad at that scene. I really was sheriff.
Yes, I know. It made it very hard for me to pick a most deleted scene. Like, what do I pick? Do I pick the horrifying, gruesome, the foot snap, or do I pick the sheriff dying in front of our eyes? And I had to pick the foot snap, but honestly, like, I really didn't want the sheriff. It was so close. I didn't want the sheriff to die. He was nice, and his poor wife.
I know.
God, I hate it.
Thank God they didn't show her again, because I'm like, I don't want to see that poor woman.
No. God. So, yeah, Annie killed him because she's the worst.
Yes, she is.
And that's why I wrote this movie's definitely not getting a 5.
Docket point.
Yeah,
it's understandable.
Yeah. So she puts 2 bullets in her gun. She's like, one's for me, one's for you. I always knew it would end like this.
Freaking suicide.
Right.
Like, girl, psycho.
Oh, God. And so he's really clever. And he's like, listen, we started this book. We need to finish it. Like, this is our legacy to the world. We're going to do this, and then we'll die together.
Yeah.
He finishes the book, and then he grabs the lighter fluid. Like, he tucks the lighter fluid in his pants when he's in the basement. And he ends up basically lighting the book on fire while he's holding the final chapter. So she never gets to know how it ends, which is great. Like, I love that for you. Good revenge.
Yes.
She, for the first time ever, says a bad word. And then she attacks him. He smashes her with a typewriter. I think I said that. He makes her bleed from the eyes. Again, just minus
Gross,
points.
yeah.
I hate eye stuff. She shoots him in the shoulder. So much blood. He takes the book. He shoves it down her throat. Great. She hits her right on the typewriter. Falls over. Wait, she's not dead. She attacks him again. Then he smashes her head in with an iron pig. And boom, 18 months later.
Yep.
That's how she died, I guess. Then he's walking
She took a lot of hits to the head.
She took a lot of hits to the head. She was
not going down.
I would have been... Dude.
The first hit.
Yeah.
To get hit by a typewriter? Like,
KO.
that would have killed me.
Yes.
Immediately.
It should have.
She had that adrenaline, I guess.
Different, yeah.
She really is. She's built different.
Yeah, she is. She is. So 18 months later, he's walking down the street of, I'm assuming, New York City or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He is, of course, walking with a cane. It's amazing he's walking at all with what she did to his ankles.
It is incredible.
And he's having lunch with his agent, who gives him his book and, like, his newest book, The Storied Life of A.J. Finkley or whatever. And he's like, "Oh yay, celebrate!" And she's like, "What if you did a nonfiction?" And Paul says, "Yeah, revisit the most traumatizing time of my life." I don't think so.
Right.
And he talks about how basically, even though she's dead, he still thinks about her all the time. And then you see the waitress walking towards him, and it looks like Annie Wilkes. So you know this poor man has horrifying PTSD.
Yeah.
And the waitress comes up to him and then just looks like the waitress. And she's like, "I'm your biggest fan." And then it like ends on a zoom in on his face.
That has to be like the worst thing to hear after going through all that.
Seriously, dude. Awful.
Oh my God. Misery.
Yeah, misery. Also, what kind of romance drama main character name is Misery? Who does that?
It's like,
Paul.
She must have a dramatic life. I mean, one of the books, she goes to court, so
right.
She's definitely got that drama.
Yeah, there is some shit going on with her.
She must be miserable.
Yeah.
So in the movie, he was only there for 4 weeks, which is a lot, but he was stuck with Annie.
Really?
For
it was
4 weeks.
only a month. I thought it was like months, honestly.
Yeah, well, in the book, it is like a couple of months. It's like midwinter to spring that he's there with her, which seems more realistic than like the 4 weeks. But
yeah, because I don't think your legs would heal that much over 4 weeks.
Definitely not. No.
Okay.
Stephen King was really impressed by Kathy Bates' performance, obviously.
Yeah, she was great.
She's amazing. And he ended up writing 2 more roles for her. And so another book that he wrote, he had one of the roles with her in mind to play.
Wow.
And then another book, The Stand, there was a character who's a male, and he ended up making her a female. So because Kathy Bates wanted to be in the film, so he was like, "Fuck yeah, I'll have you do this character." So And then James Caan, the main actor, and Kathy Bates clashed over acting methods because James Caan wanted as little rehearsal as possible, whereas Kathy Bates has a theater background. She wants as much as possible. So there was some frustration, but the director was like, use that towards her character. Like, if you're frustrated with her, use that for the movie.
Yeah.
The character of Annie Wilkes is one of Stephen King's favorite written characters because was very surprising to write, with unexpected death and sympathy, as well as being a little crazy. Jack Nicholson was actually, he turned down the role, the main role.
I can see him playing that role.
I could see him too. Yeah, he ended up turning it down because of The Shining and how difficult that was. And he was like, I'm not going to do another Stephen King.
Yeah.
And it's funny because James Caan actually turned down the role for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which Jack Nicholson did. So it was like a little swap
really
there.
Yeah.
There was a Broadway play of Misery with Bruce Willis starring in it. Yes, I had to look it up. I was like, is this real? Yes. Yeah. And it was actually a success. It was very well praised. So this was 2015.
God, I want to go back in time.
I know. So Annie Wilkes, the character, is ranked the 17th most iconic villain in American film list of 100 heroes and villains. So
do you know who number 1 is?
I don't know who number 1 is. I can make a guess that it's probably gonna be Hannibal Lecter.
Oh, okay.
But I'll pull it up. Let me see. Number 1, yep, Hannibal Lecter.
Wow, look at you. Like a real horror fan.
I know. So Hannibal Lecter, Norman Bates, number 2, Darth Vader, 3, The Wicked Witch of the West is 4.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Nurse Ratched is 5.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, Mr. Potter.
Nurse Ratched. Oh, Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something different. Okay.
Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. Alex Forrest, Fatal Attraction.
Okay.
Phyllis Dietrichson from Double Indemnity.
I haven't seen that one. That's the first one so far I haven't seen.
Yeah. Reagan from The Exorcist is 9. And then the Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is 10.
That's amazing.
So pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So Kathy Bates became the first woman to win an Oscar for Best Actress in a horror or thriller for this film.
Good for her.
Before that, the first performer to win an Oscar for a horror film was Frederick March in 1931 for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Wow.
And there's not a lot of people that win Oscars for horror films.
That's crazy.
Like a very short list here.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so good for her. I mean, she killed it. So
yeah, she really did.
So one of the key themes in the book was actually Paul's addiction to substance abuse. Annie Wilkes is supposed to represent abuse and substance abuse and how it's keeping them captive and controlling them. And they're like, when they're just like trying to get out, it pulls them back in. And Stephen King suffered from substance abuse and for a while and dealt with that. So that's what that book is kind of representative. So in the movie, they don't really go into that he had any type of substance abuse, but in the book, that's like a much bigger theme.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it would make sense, too, why he would be very concerned about who would make this film if it's something that personal.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so if you are a fan of Annie Wilkes, Castle Rock on Hulu, season 2 is a prequel to her story. So that it's really good. She's much younger. I forget the actress who plays her, but she did a really, really good job. So that is something that people can watch if they're interested. And I think that is it. Yeah, that is all. That's all the facts I got about the movie.
That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
Okay. All right, well, to go back to my review, main character, smash or pass, I picked pass. He's injured and older.
Yeah.
And,
there is not much to find him attractive.
Yeah. He could be charming when he was fighting for his life. I'm sorry. I just can't find that. I can't find it attractive when someone's in this, like, weakened state. Like, he just needed help.
Yes.
Villain pass. Sorry, Kathy Bates, beautiful. Did a great job acting. No, that's someone who's going. She's a Black Widow for sure.
Yeah, she is. Oh, absolutely. No hesitation. One thing doesn't go her way. It's,
right, and you're
dead.
Yeah,
you're dead.
Yeah. And what was your most? She'll find you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, she will find you. I was gonna say, yeah. I don't think you mentioned that.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, it's got to be the hammer scene. I mean,
memorable and deleted.
Yes, I think I have done that before.
I think so. Yeah.
I don't think you did it for I feel like last week was the first time you've ever done a double. I feel like I have done it more in the past. Like there were definitely a couple of scenes I would say up after that. We have the scene with the sheriff, which I hated, and then the scene with the wine glass tipping over, or the scene with the the penguin where he's trying to get back in time the first time he leaves the room. Both of those situations, all of those were very memorable, but I have to go with the thing that made me immediately go, wow, this is not 5 stars. This is going to be memorable.
I feel like with horror movies, I feel like the most memorable also would be the most deleted scene. Yeah. It's probably the most impactful and horrifying moment.
That.
Yes.
Yeah, I super hate that.
Well, I'm going to remember that forever. Thank you.
Yeah. Ingrained into my mind palace. So I said, my survival chance. What do you think my survival chance would be?
I don't know. I feel like you would do a good job playing the character, but I also know how panicked you would be in the situation. So I feel like I would go straight in the middle. I don't know which way it would go. Because if you were that damaged and not at a doctor, I feel like you would probably just die in the bed somehow.
I would find a way to probably just die I would get dehydration from pooping myself. Like I couldn't handle it. I gave myself a 2. I was like, you know what? It's very possible there are times where I can be like really sneaky and I could be like play into it and like, let me feed your ego. I could see myself like rolling it out. But I'm not convinced that anything would, like, I do kind of feel like Annie was going to hobble him no matter what. Because even when he was being flirty with her and being like, no, I really like you, I'm going to stay here. She's like, don't lie to me. Like, I know that there's part of you that doesn't want to be here, all this. So I think there's a high chance that no matter what, it was going to end in catastrophe.
Yeah, she was never going to let him go.
No, absolutely not. And the best chance he had of survival was to play the long game and to hope that he could convince her someday when his legs were healed that he's on her side, and then to book it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. And I feel like I would have been like pretty cool. I'm like, okay, this is fine, until she read my book and got pissy at me. Then I would be like, I'm
the minute she made me burn my book, I would have been like, I was like, man, I think she would kill me. Like,
you should have left me out there.
Yeah, just like, I would have been better off in the Sintra Storm.
Yes,
like,
probably.
Yeah. Frozen. The movie would have been so fast, it would have started and ended the same way that The Shining ended, just with a frozen popsicle person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Would I recommend? I would recommend. I do think it was a good movie, but I would recommend with caveats. I would not recommend it to my mother, like my mom. No, do not watch that, ma'am. You will hate it. My little sister, yes, would recommend it to her for sure. Okay, hearts. Okay, this was so hard for me because it was so well done. It was really good, and it was scary. But again, as a romance, like reading this as a romance person, I'm going to rate it as a romance person. So I gave it a 3.85.
Okay.
I couldn't give it the 3.9 because I was just rereading my notes and the sheriff and everything. I was like, no, I'm sorry. You don't get to be that close to a 4. But I also do feel like it was well done and it deserves its accolades. Like, I do think that a horror lover would probably give it a 5. Like, I'm curious what you would give it. I could see it going very high.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 5, maybe like 4.9. I think it's very good. I think, you know, has so much to it. It has really interesting characters. I think Annie Wilkes is just such an interesting villain, and she's really funny and horrifying.
Yeah.
And just the whole tension of him looking around the house while she's out.
It's good. It's good. It's a good horror movie. Yeah. That's what it's hard. Like, I don't know. It's really hard if I'm rating it as scary. Like, yeah, it probably should get a little higher than 3.25. But I will even say, like, I stand by, to this day, I stand by my Carrie review. I stand by that. But this one, I will, like, I will give you the benefit of the horror movie and say, like, yeah, I could see it getting rated higher.
If the next Stephen King, there will be more. If you give that one, you say that one's good too, we're rewatching Carrie. I swear we're going to rewatch Carrie.
God damn it. I am telling you, I cannot. We'll watch it together. We might have to make a drinking game out of it.
We'll watch it in preparation for the TV show that's coming out.
Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. It's just, she's a high school girl and everyone's a bully. And also, why are high schoolers trying to kill each other? There's so many issues.
It's the 70s.
No, I'm sorry. I don't think it was like this when our parents were in high school.
Fine. It's Stephen King's first, so, you know.
Yeah.
Can't start off with full bangers.
All right. You ready for your movie?
Yes. Okay. I hope I can get this thread immediately.
You'll get the thread immediately.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm picking for you?
No.
Okay. When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep. You got the thread?
Right. I got the thread.
Yeah. I mean, how could I not? I saw it and I was just like, all right.
Very fair. Very fair. I'm happy about this. It's been a while.
Yeah, for me too.
So I'm excited to rewatch it. I remember really enjoying it the first time. So I'm really sure I will enjoy it again. It's good. Yeah. It's a goodie.
So When Harry Met Sally is a classic movie that there are some iconic scenes from, but essentially the story starts as 2 kids in college who it's a little enemies to lovers. They start off, they do not like each other, but they are going to road trip it out to they're going to the same town and they want to save money. So they get in the car, they road trip it there, and along the way become friends. And it kind of follows the story of their friendship blossoming over the years and how close they become, to when one point there becomes the realization that there's a little bit more there. And yeah, that's all I'll say about it. If you don't know, if you haven't, so if you're someone who is like, listen, I'm a hipster, I'm not gonna watch something that's super cool, watch When Harry Met Sally.
I agree with Megan. It's definitely worth watching. It's popular and classic for a reason. Yeah. So definitely iconic scenes. I have the one scene ingrained in my head forever because it's so funny.
It's so funny, and it's also incredibly like kind of a little embarrassing to watch.
It's insane. It's an insane scene. Yes. I watched it for the first time in high school because I was in a film class and having to watch that scene
in school.
Yes, in class, and we were all like dying, but also like this is the most secondhand embarrassing thing ever. But
that's wild.
Anyway, if you know, you know.
yeah. And if you don't, you will.
You will know, so. for sure. Yeah. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, gonna close off. Thank you for listening to How Do You Watch This? You can find us on Instagram at How Do You Watch This and TikTok at How Do You Watch, or email us at howdoyouwatchthis@gmail.com. If you like the show, support us by giving us a review or recommending to a friend.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
Bye.